Welcome to the newest episode of Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. I'm your host, Jason Fraley, picking the brains of the top filmmakers, musicians, and artists of our time. Comedian Russell Peters cracks up MGM National Harbor in Oxon Hill, Maryland tomorrow night. He joined me to discuss his journey from becoming the first comedian with a Netflix original comedy special to being named one of Rolling Stone's 50 best comics of all time. Hey, Russell Peters, hey, thanks for joining us on WTOP in Washington, D.C.
Hey, what's happening, guys?
We're talking because you're coming to crack up the MGM National Harbor in Oxon Hill, Maryland. It's just over the river here from the nation's capital. It's a really cool spot. Tell us what we can expect. I mean, every time you come to DC, I know a lot of comedians will bring in some DC themed stuff, some political humor, which at this point kind of writes itself. But do you have any of that, or is it just in general observational stuff?
I mean, it's my act that I'll be doing, but I mean, you never know what's going to happen when I talk to the crowd a lot. So it's one of those things where I don't know what's going to happen as much as you don't know what's going to happen.
Awesome. And yeah, it's always tricky
for all of us.
Yeah, it's a surprise for everybody. Well, it's always tricky when I have comedians on because I don't want you to spoil any of your punchlines or anything. But yeah, like, how can we say in general terms, like, what topics do you go into, or what parts of your life do you explore, that kind of thing?
Let's just say, if you're sensitive, I don't want you there. Like if you're if you're taking on causes that aren't your causes, stay out of my cause.
Stick to your own causes. All right. Well, whenever I have someone, a famous comedian like yourself, I always love to, hear your origin story. I know you were born in Toronto in 1970. Yeah. Like who were your comedy, idols growing up?
That was George Carlin, Don Rickles, Cheech and Chong, Eddie Murphy, Steve Martin.
All the greats. And then how did you, end up starting to do it yourself? I mean, you're watching all these greats and getting inspired by them, but then you started stand up around 19 or something like that?
Yeah, in 1989. You got to figure though, in the 70s and 80s, when I was listening to comedy, you were listening to it before you were watching it.
Right.
You were listening to it on record or on the radio. Watching it wasn't really much of an option until like the mid 80s.
Right, exactly. And then you started getting, the Eddie Murphy, Raw and Delirious and all that stuff. But before that, you're right. It was all the albums. Yeah, you're right. Great. Well, tell me about when you start getting you just kind of segued it for me. You're a pro. You're talking about how we could finally in like the 90s and beyond, in 2000s, we could finally start watching these things. So tell me about those first few comedy specials. I know it was like Comedy Central was outsourced, and then Showtime, you had what, Red, White, and Brown and the Green Card Tour. All building up to that big, I guess that's your historic spot, right? You're the first comedian to create a Netflix original special with Notorious. Big honor.
Yeah. It was a big deal. It was a guy driving really fucking slow in front of me.
Wait, are you in DC already?
No, I'm in LA, and the guy's not even doing the speed limit, and there's nobody in front of him.
Well, I hate to break it to you, the traffic won't get much better here, but
yeah, I know, but it's puzzling. I'm like, how are you doing 10 miles less than the speed limit with nobody in front of you, and you're in the HOV lane?
Well, careful. I don't know if you watched that Netflix show Beef. Road rage can lead to a lot of trouble, so careful.
Well, this isn't road. This guy's an idiot.
There's a fine line between road rage and idiots, right?
Yeah.
Where were we? Oh yeah, your Netflix special, Notorious. Yeah, I mean, just at the time, I know it's hard now because Netflix is such a huge part of our life. Streaming revolution has changed everything in recent years. But like, if you can try to place your mindset back right in the cusp of that about to happen, like, did you sort of have like foresight, like, okay, this is where everything's going, I need to get in on this and be the first?
Well, no, they came to me and were like, hey, we want to do want your next special. I was like, great, I'll sell it to you. And they were like, no, we want to produce it. I go, but I produce my own specials. They're like, no, we'll give you the money, we want to own it. And I go, huh? What do you mean? I go, what about the DVDs? Oh, there's no DVDs. I go, wait, hold on a second. Because in 2012, when they came to me with it, I'm like, wait, what do you mean no DVDs? This is where all the money is. I'm selling it on DVD after the shows or whatever,
Yeah, and at that point, Netflix was probably still doing sending DVDs out in their little envelopes. Because 2013 was House of Cards was their first. Yeah, 2013, that year exactly.
Yeah, they just were going to stop doing it then. That's why they wanted me to be their first thing, and I couldn't wrap my head around losing the DVD money.
Is that how they pitched it to you? Hey, Russell Peters, do you volunteer to kill the DVD industry?
Yeah, and I'm like, I didn't know. I'm like, no, what are you talking about? Well, you can have the special on your streaming site, but why can't I just sell the DVDs on my show? No, we want people to come to our streaming site. I go, that doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
I
And
was
it's
like,
so
but all right. They gave me a bunch of money, and I was like, let's do it.
That's cool. And then they had you
And
back.
then,
They had you back for Almost Famous in 2016, and now it's so crazy. Now it's hard to believe, but like now Netflix has what is it? Netflix is a joke, and they have all these. I mean, so many people, all the streaming services, Max and Amazon, they all have their own stand-up specials. But you were on the ground floor. That's awesome, man.
yeah, it was cool.
All right, cool. Well, and then I guess just moving right along chronologically, I have to tell our listeners some of the big numbers that you did. So for instance, the Deported World Tour. At least your little bio here. I'm gonna drop some stats on the fine folks of DC. That Deported World Tour was seen by over 400,000 fans in 40 cities across 20 countries, and then ultimately, made its way onto Amazon Prime as Russell Peters Deported in 2020. But just memories of that tour really quick. Is that the biggest one you've still done to date in terms of, the number of people and the number of countries? Oh, did we lose you? Hey, Russell, are you still there?
Yeah, sorry about that.
I think that idiot driver cut you off or something.
No, this a call was coming in. I meant to hit because they give you too many options on the iPhone. I hit the wrong one. I meant to hit send to voicemail, but I hit end and answer. I'm like, fucking idiot.
It's all right.
Um,
I like the spontaneity. Is there any good story there? Is it like, another fellow comedian trying to call you or something?
no, just an idiot who bothers me too much.
You haven't listed in the phone as idiot who bothers me.
Yeah, I'm a spam risk. Um,
Well, I don't know how much you heard of me. I was just saying I was trying to drop some stats on the people of DC about your
yeah,
Deported
right.
World Tour.
We
Yeah,
got
yeah.
we got cut off right at the stats.
Yes. So yeah, 400,000 fans in 40 cities over 20 countries, and it culminated in the deported Russell Peters Deported on Amazon Prime in 2020. But is that still your biggest tour to date in terms of the most cities, most countries, all that stuff?
No, not at all. I think every tour I do is like that. I'm one of the lucky ones who gets to go all over the place. I get to go to places most comics never will go to. And if you hear a comic saying they went to that country, they didn't do it for the people. They did it for like an army base. I'm doing it for the people in those countries.
Right. You're taking it to the people, not just the army bases. Nothing against performing for the army bases, but you're doing
Yeah,
it for the masses in each
yeah,
country.
no,
You
no,
get a
but
little more.
yeah, but when you're doing it at an army base, you might as well just be performing in America at that point because
Yeah, it's all
there's
American.
nothing about that country there anymore.
Yeah, it's all Americans.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of that, you say you're touring everywhere. Is there like a certain part of the world that maybe you were surprised they welcomed you that so much, like that maybe you thought you'd do well here, but in some other place you're like, wow, it's like those bands, they're really big in Japan.
Oh yeah, no, there's plenty of places where that happens. Where I performed in Croatia and it was sold out. I was like, what? They know me in Croatia? I was in where was I? Where's Vilnius? What country is Vilnius in?
Romania?
Lithuania. I did shows in Lithuania, and I was like, what? How do they know me in Lithuania?
Yeah,
You know,
apparently Russell Peters is huge in Lithuania. Who knew?
I do
Um,
Finland every tour, which is a wild one for me to do. Like, when have you ever thought of going to Finland? Then you go to Finland, you go, wow, Finland's kind of dope.
It is, fins to the left and fins to the right. um, well, tell me before we run. I mean, you've been generous with your time, but tell me about how the all this massive stand up success how you've been able to sort of pivot it into TV and film roles and stuff. Like I think The Indian Detective set like a Canadian viewership record and is now
Yeah.
on Netflix. You've been in a ton of movies, Source Code and Chef and New Year's Eve and Jungle Book and Clifford and Velma, all kinds of stuff. But have you really enjoyed branching out into the TV and movie realm?
I mean, it's okay. You know what I mean? It's a lot more work than I'm prepared to do. I've been doing stand up for 34 years, and I make my money that way. And then they ask you, hey, do you want to come and do this whatever movie or TV show? And a movie will take you a month and a half to 2 months out of your life, and the money you make in that 2 months is not going to be even equivalent to one weekend of doing stand up. So you have to really want to do that movie when you do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and
And you're
plus,
gonna have to do 14-hour days when you're doing it. You're like, oh, this is a lot of work.
yeah, and that's considered a normal day, which is
And
crazy.
I'm pretty lazy. I got to be honest with you.
Well, and not only the pay difference, but you have to wait so much longer for that dopamine rush or whatever. I don't know if I have my brain chemicals right, but you know what I mean. Like that instant high of hearing an audience laugh, it's like pretty immediate when you're on stand up on stage touring every night. Whereas a movie, you got to shoot those long days, and then it could be months or years before it even comes out.
No, yeah, I mean, I have a movie coming out next month that I shot in October of 2019.
What's it called?
The Outlaw Johnny Black.
And what's it about? Obviously, the outlaw Johnny Black. But who is outlaw
Did
Johnny
you
Black?
did you ever see Black Dynamite, the movie Black Dynamite?
Yeah, I remember that one. Yep.
Okay, so it's Michael Jai White. It's the same kind of idea, but it's a what spaghetti western spoof.
I love it. I love it. Well, we'll and Tommy Davidson was in that, and Arsenio, and all
And
in the
yeah,
original. But they're not in this one. It's just an
I think
homage.
Tommy might be in this one.
Oh,
I
really?
think I'm not sure. Is Tommy in it? I mean, he might be, but Mike's in it, and a bunch of people from Black Dynamite are in it as well.
That's freaking awesome. We'll keep an eye out for that. And yeah, the dang, pandemic, I guess it's been sitting there since 2019 and finally it's coming out. So look out for it, everybody. All right. Well, I mean, and before we run, anything else you want to tease? I know you're executive producing like some TV shows. You got a podcast. What else you want to plug?
I mean, I think I pulled the plug on the podcast. So
Oh, no more podcasts?
nah, I got bored of it. I literally got bored of it.
All right. Well, it was called Culturally Canceled with Russell Peters, and now it's just canceled.
Yeah, I culturally did that.
Well, I'll throw you on my podcast as a consolation prize. It's not
great. That'll be great.
Final seconds. What else in your spare time? Russell Peters. We've covered the comedian. How about Russell Peters? The person raising 2 kids. You have a blue belt in jujitsu. You're hip hop DJ. You're a fascinating Renaissance man.
I am. I mean, I'm about to be a purple belt. Let's not get it twisted here, but
How much more do you got to do? Or do you mean you just mean after kicking my ass in this interview?
No. I got 4 stripes on my blue, but if I just get my ass in the gym more, I would have had my purple belt about a year and a half ago. I was in the gym more often, but that's the way it goes. I'm hosting the USA National DMC competition on Sunday in New York. Me and Lord Finesse DJing the USA Championships for DJ Championships.
Awesome. Well, that's gonna be. You said that's in New York.
Yeah, it's in New York City on Sunday.
Okay, awesome. Well, everyone, come check out Russell Peters at MGM National Harbor here down near DC, and then if you want, head up the coast to New York and see the DJ competition. That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm just hosting it though.
You're just hosting it. Wait, you're not even going to be at turntables, like in between.
I may jump on to test the turntables, make sure they're working okay. But that's about it.
Gotcha. All right. Well, either way, thanks so much for joining us. Again, everyone.
I appreciate it.
Russell
Thank
Peters,
you, buddy.
MGM National Harbor this Saturday in Oxon Hill. Get your tickets. Thanks, man.
Thanks, buddy. Bye.
Thanks so much for listening to Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. Our theme music is Scott Buckley's Clarion. Remember to give us a 5-star rating if you like what you hear. We'll see you next time.